Hello and welcome back to the another episode of Daily Quiz for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 24th September today, and in this video we are going to derive questions from these articles which are on this slide, which were actually taken from the newspapers. Every day we discuss three types of questions here. The first set of questions are from the current affairs. We take up the most important articles from the newspaper. We break them down into the simplest language possible and derive some prelims based questions from those articles so that it will give you the idea how the questions could be framed from the current affairs with respect to your prelims preparation. And the another set of questions which we discuss here is from the static topic, and for your information, we had started with the Indian polity, and today we are going to complete the citizenship in Indian polity, citizenship with respect to India, and we are going to derive the articles which are related to it and frame a question on those articles. After that, at the end of the session, we are going to derive some previous year questions. We are going to discuss some previous year questions. We'll find out the methods and ways by which you can solve the exam. You can solve those questions in the exam, and also we are going to derive the information from those questions, and we will find out the way in which we can implement that information in our next coming exam. So this is all about this initiative. If you are watching this video, I would recommend you please do watch the video till the end. This may seem boring to you. Sometimes we fumble when we introduce, but trust me, the information in this video would be very much helpful for you guys for your preparation. So please do watch the video till the end. And if you are serious aspirant, then you should do one thing. Please do note down these questions somewhere. When your exams would be near and you would want to revise your current affairs, it would be very much difficult for you. If at that time you have these questions, you would just revise these questions. These questions would help you get connected with your current affairs, as well as it will boost your confidence before entering the exam hall. So please do note these questions somewhere, or at least take the screenshot of these questions. And also, I would request you guys, please do subscribe the channel and share it with your friends so that they may also get benefited from this initiative. Now with this, let us look at the first topic which we have to discuss today. It is about the Supreme Court verdict, while it stated that watching child sex abuse material is an offense. Now let's dig a little bit deep into the story, how this case went to the Supreme Court, what is the background of it, and how does Supreme Court see it. Earlier, actually in the last year, we saw a case in the Maharashtra High Court where a 28-year-old man, he was accused of watching the child pornography. He was accused that he had downloaded the child pornography, and that case went to the Maharashtra High Court. But Maharashtra High Court did something strange there. According to Maharashtra High Court, the accused, the person who was involved in the case, his intentions were not to use that child pornography for the commercial purposes. So he was let go. He was let go by the court. This case was, according to Maharashtra High Court, he was not guilty under this case. Why did the Maharashtra High Court said that he did not use, his intentions were not to use it for the commercial purpose? So this commercial purpose thing takes us back to the POSCO Act. So what is this POSCO Act? Let's try to understand about it. This POSCO Act, it is Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. It was introduced in 2012. It protected children from the sexual abuse and child pornography. In this POSCO Act, there is a particular section which is section 15 of the POSCO Act, which is very much interesting because it says that criminalizing these persons who are storing and consuming child pornography for commercial purposes. This section 15 of the POSCO Act, it only contained that if any person is holding the child pornography and he is consuming it for the commercial purposes, then he would be labeled as a criminal according to this act. But by looking at this section, then the government, it amended it in 2019. Amendments were led to this section and 3 more sections were added to it. What were those 3 sections? Let's have a look at it. The first section which was added to it was any person who stores and possesses a pornographic material and does not delete it. It seems that his intentions are to share it in the future. So he does not share it earlier. He does not he does not use it for the commercial purposes, but he has the child pornography in his laptop or phone. He has downloaded it, but he has not deleted it. Then he would be accused of the crime according to this section, which was introduced in 2019. Then the another section which was introduced in it was a person who stores and possesses it for what purpose? For displaying it, for transmitting it. It is also an offense according to the Indian laws. So there are two sections. The earlier section is if a person has downloaded it and he's not using it, he has just stored it. So his intentions are that in the future he will watch it, he will share it with somebody. So it is an offense. Similarly, in another section, if he has downloaded it and he is watching it, he is transmitting it, but not for the commercial purposes, still it is an offense. Then there was a third section which was added, which was actually earlier present there, that he has this child pornography and he is using it for the commercial purposes. Then it is a crime according to the POSCO Act. So this POSCO Act, what it did, it introduced that it gave us the concept of consensual sex. It said that those children who are below the age of 18, they don't have the consent. Their consent is not valid for their sexual activities. So if their videos are made, if they are involved in such activities, so this is very much offensive in our Indian courts. It is very much offensive in our Indian laws. So this was the main purpose of the POSCO Act, and these were the amendments which were made to the section 15 of the POSCO Act. So with respect to this, the Madras High Court, it's earlier gave its judgment with respect to the accused that he is not guilty because his purpose was not, his intentions were not to share it. But the Supreme Court, this case went to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court gave a very special verdict, very landmark verdict, where it said that if that person, his intentions were not to share it, but downloading that pornographic video, having that pornographic videos, those videos related to children are very much offensive or very much criminal in nature. And according to the Supreme Court, it is watching child sex abuse material is an offense in our Indian laws. So this is the latest verdict about the child pornography. And also, with respect to this case, the Supreme Court made an interesting point here. What did the Supreme Court said? It said that we should not call it a child pornography, because pornography is something in which is very much consensual, where both the parties give their consent of having sexual intercourse. But here the persons who are involved are below the age of 18, and those consents are not valid because they can't give the sexual consents. So we should not in other words, the Supreme Court directed the central government that they should amend this law and change the name of this term which is involved in the section 15 about the child pornography to, it should be changed to child sexual exploitative and abuse material. It should not be called as child pornography, but it should be called as child sexual exploitative and abuse material. So this was about this article here. This is the nutshell of the news, why we had taken up this article, and in the another slides we will derive some questions and get more idea about it. Then the another article which was in the news, it is very long lasting article. It says India's defense exports and humanitarian law. We had discussed this many times here, but let's give it the final touch and let's try to collect everything what we had understood with respect to this article here. On October 17, when Hamas militants attacked Israel and they took many persons, whether they would be children, whether they would be women, whether they would be elderly men, they took them as an hostage. And in response to that, the Israel started all-out war on Hamas. And that earlier, all the countries in the world, most of the countries in the world, they started supporting Israel because they thought that Israel is doing it in its self-defense. But by the time passes, and countries, world is watching right now, and it is accused that as many countries accused Israel of doing genocide there. Now, according to this article, as many countries accuse Israel of doing genocide. According to this article raises a question: what if a country is involved in trade with Israel? They are exporting its armored, they are exporting its defense to Israel, and Israel is using it against Palestinian people. So what can we call that those countries are indirectly involved in the genocide of Palestine? So this is the issue raised by this article. So with respect this, why this issue is in this article, because there was a case in the Supreme Court. In this case it was Ashok Kumar Sharma versus Union of India, where Ashok Kumar Sharma, it went to the Supreme Court, and it asked the Supreme Court, please direct the central governments that there are companies which are involved in trade with Israel, who are trading armored defense system to Israel, who are exporting arms to Israel. Their licenses should be banned, whether they are private companies or public companies. So with respect to this this case, the Supreme Court did not accept this plea, and it is, in fact, Supreme Court rejected this plea, and the reasons given by the Supreme Court are very strange. The first reason it gave, that how could the Supreme Court give direct use to Israel? But here the argument is that the petitioner, he did not want the Supreme Court to give direct use to the Israel, but he wanted that Supreme Court should give direct use to the central government of India. So this is one of the argument given against the reasons given by the Supreme Court. The second reason which the Supreme Court gave, it would lead to break of contract. According to the Supreme Court, that when two countries are involved in any kind of trade, when two entities are involved in any kind of trade, there are agreements between those two countries with respect to that trade. If such such directives would be given, that if we will direct central government that they should curb the licenses of those companies who are involved with the trade with Israel, it will it will directly impact to the breach, it will directly lead to the breach of contract, and it would not go well with the Indian companies. And also, according to the Supreme Court, another reason which they gave, that this is the matter of the foreign policy and it is under the union government. If we will get involved in it, it would lead to the that we are getting we are indulging in the issues of the indulging in the issues of the central government, which the union government has to take care of. We should not get involved in that. This would be the overreach from the Supreme Court. According to the Supreme Court, these are the reasons which they gave. But here the author says, this is not the concept of what we are looking at. We have to look at the broader picture of it. Here we have the international humanitarian laws, which sets rules that which sets rules that when there are armed conflicts between two countries, those who are not involved directly into those conflicts, for example the civilians, so we need to protect them. We have to impose limits on warfare according to the international humanitarian laws. And there are different countries which have set up the bans to their to their governments with respect to the trade with Israel. So according to the article, according to the author, that it is very much under the control of the Supreme Court if they want to ban these if they want to issue such directives to the central government. So there is a long lasting debate with respect to it, and we will look into this matter, into this debate when there would be more clarity on this issue. So here we are going to derive a prelims based question on international humanitarian laws and understand it more in a more detailed manner. After that, there was another article. It talks about the business with China. We had understood one thing about China, that they are very much self-centered in nature. They always think of their own interests. Whenever they trade with any country, it is their record that with whichever country they had traded, they had destroyed the market of that country. For example, we will take the example of Pakistan, we will take the example of Sri Lanka. The diplomacy, the debt trap diplomacy which they lead, which they are known for, is not very much good with the country, with the economy which we are in right now. So according to the author here, what he tries to explain here, that when 2024 economic survey was given, that it clearly said that even though we are not accepting the foreign direct investment from China right now, we are not expecting that imports, we had banned money imports from China, but still we need to boost our economy, we need to boost our manufacturing. For that, the economic survey of 2024 said that we should at least let Chinese companies to invest in our market, so that it will boost our manufacturing industry. But according to author, this approach is totally incorrect, because we can't trust China because of money issues, because of the China's nature. China is not trustable. Its issues, how it has dealt with us. We had seen the recent conflicts with China, as it is said that it has acquired illegally huge amount of land from India, and also it did not recognize Arunachal Pradesh to be the part of India. So there are various issues with China which are right now, which are very much concerning. And also, if we will, with respect to this diplomacy, we have to understand three different terms, which is track one, where government officials are involved in the discussions, track one diplomacy. Then we have track two diplomacy, where government officials are not involved but civil society is involved, which are backed indirectly by the government. And then there is track 1.5 diplomacy, where government officials are involved but not on the official capacity, but on the individual capacity, on the personal capacity. So because of these track 2 and track 1.5 diplomacies, what the civil society in the China, what the officials in the China are telling us indirectly, that let's keep what has happened on our borders, let's keep that aside and look, let's take care of the economy. But that is not the thing which we have to take care of right now. We can't compromise on all those issues. So here, this is in nutshell about the article, and in the next slide we will derive some questions on this basis also. Then there was another article which talked about the Ballapur accused killed. There was a person who was accused of a rape of two ladies, and according to the police there, he tried to retaliate, and he tried to fire on the police officials, and in this encounter he was killed. So this raises a huge question on the credibility of the police. If we will have a local perspective of the people's perspective to this, people will definitely appreciate it, because the delays which are happening in our courts, people has lost their trust in the courts because of the delays which we have in the cases. So here people will definitely appreciate it, but here we have to give it a different angle too. What if that person was not guilty? What if that person was not guilty? What if this is a fake encounter? I'm just saying there are various issues which can be which here can arise. So with respect to this, we have the National Human Rights Commission guidelines which were given with respect to the police encounters. It has laid down guidelines. What are those guidelines? Officer in charge must record it in register. Whenever such police encounter happens, the officer who is in charge of that police station, he should record this in the register. Investigation should take place. Within after this encounter happens, the investigation should take place. And who should investigate this case? It is not the police which was involved, but it should be the independent body. And also, it should be monitored by the magistrate. Whenever such cases happen, there are dramatic promotions to those officials, and according to the National Human Rights Commission, such dramatic promotion should not happen. And also, whenever such cases happen, gallery awards are given to such police persons. So according to National Human Rights Commission, such gallery awards should not be given to those police officers until the investigation is done, and after that, whatever seems fit, that should be done. So with respect to this, we will solve a prelims based question on National Human Rights Commission and understand that in a better way. Then the last article which is relevant for your preparation, it is about the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, which is FSSAI. It is a statutory body. It was established under the Food Safety and Standards Act of 2006. Why it is in news? Because it has issued a notice to Tamil Nadu Forum over ghee adulteration. uh, according to them, that laddus, which is a sweet in India, which is one of the famous sweet in India. According to them, the ghee which was used was adulterated. So that's why it came in the news. So let's try to understand about the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India more in detail with respect to the prelims based question. And after discussing these questions with respect to these articles, we'll derive a question on the static topic, which is today's citizenship, and finally we'll derive some previous year questions too. So at the end of the slide, I hope you had understood the basic idea behind the questions which we are about to discuss. So this is the context of the questions which we are about to discuss. Now with this, let's look at the questions which we have to discuss today. The first question here, it is about the POSCO Act itself. It says, which of the following statements about the protection of children from sexual offences Act 2012 is or correct? So here are the statements with respect to the POSCO Act. Let's try to discuss them. Let's try to find out what they are. The first statement, the POSCO Act defines a child as anyone below the age of 18. 100% correct. It defines the child anyone below the age of 18. Second statement, the Act provides for the establishment of special courts to expedite trials in cases of child sexual offences. 100% correct. Nothing wrong with this statement. Statement 3, under the POSCO Act, the burden of proof lies with the accused. No, the burden of proof lies with the prosecutor, not the accused. मतलब इसका मतलब क्या है कि for example, if anybody is accused under such law, it is the authority who has accused him. The burden of proof will lie on them, not on the person who has been accused. So this is the main concept behind this statement 3. This is also incorrect. The burden of proof lies with the prosecutor, not the accused. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1 and statement 2 only, and from the code given below, the correct code is option A. So by discussing this question, I hope you had got better idea about the POSCO Act, and also you had got the context why we had discussed this question here. Now with this, let's move to the another question. It says, which of the following statements correctly describe the different tracks of diplomacy? Here we had to understand these tracks of diplomacy. Why we had taken this? Because there was a huge article in the newspaper about the China-India relations with respect to their business, how these track 1.5 and track 2 diplomacy are impacting our relationship, how they are manipulating us to get away from the security issues and focus on the economic issues. So here try to understand what these track diplomacies are. Here the track 1 diplomacy, what it is, it involves official government negotiations between state actors. 100% correct. Statement 2, track 1.5 diplomacy includes unofficial discussion that involves both governmental and non-governmental actors. 100% correct. It involves government actors, but they are not involved in the official capacity, but at the personal capacity. So statement 2 is also correct. Coming to the statement 3, it says track 2 diplomacy, it refers to purely informal dialogue and initiatives conducted by non-state actors without official government involvement. 100% correct. But unofficially the government is backing them, but it is without the official government involvement. So statement 3 is also correct. So with respect to this question, all the statements are correct, and from the code given below, the correct code is option D. With this, let's move to the another question here. It says, which of the following statements regarding international humanitarian law is are correct? So here why we are discussing international humanitarian law, because we discussed the trade with Israel, we discussed the allegations against Israel with respect to the Palestine genocide. So here comes the international humanitarian law. Let's see what are the statements. The statement 1, international humanitarian law primarily aims to protect individuals who are not participating in hostilities during armed conflict. 100% correct. Nothing wrong with this statement. Statement 2, the Geneva Conventions are the cornerstones of the international humanitarian law. 100% correct. Statement 3, IHL applies only to international armed conflicts and not to non-international armed conflicts. No, it is totally incorrect. It applies to both international and non-international armed conflicts. So statement 3 is incorrect. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 1 and statement 2 only, and from the code given below, the correct code is option A. With this, let's move to the question here. It talks about the National Human Rights Commission. Here the question says, which of the following statements about the National Human Rights Commission of India are correct? Statement 1. The National Human Rights Commission was established under the Protection of Human Rights Act of 1993. 100% correct. Statement 2. The NHRC has the authority to investigate violations of human rights by private individuals. No, it has the authority to investigate violations of human rights by public or government authorities, but not the private individuals. So statement 2 is incorrect. Coming to statement 3, the commission consists of a chairperson and 4 members. 100% correct. All of whom must be retired judges of the Supreme Court. Here you can understand one thing, this word must, it is very much extreme here. So without knowing the question you can mark this incorrect, but here I would like to include the points. It here the explanation to this point is given. The NHRC consists of a chairperson and 4 members, but not all members need to be retired judges. They did not need to be retired judges of Supreme Court. They can also include other qualified individuals too. So statement 3 becomes very much extreme. So statement 3 is also incorrect. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is option D, which is 1 only. So with this, let's move to the another question. It says, which of the following statements about the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India are correct? We saw it because it has issued the notice to the Tamil Nadu firm over ghee adulteration. So let's try to understand about Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. About FSSAI, it was established under the Food Safety and Standards Act of 2006. 100% correct. Statement 2, the primary objective of FSSAI is to regulate and ensure the safety and quality of food products in India. 100% correct. Statement 3, FSSAI is a statutory body that operates under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, all the 3 statements are correct. So from the code given below, the correct code is option D. With this, we complete today's discussion with the current affairs topics. Now let's move to the next part. Let's derive a question from the static topic which we have to discuss today. Here the question is very straightforward. Match the following. If you had followed me, you would know one thing. Whenever such questions do come, I match them correctly to avoid any confusion. Let's try to understand what are the articles here. Here the article 8, it is related to rights of citizenship of certain persons of Indian origin residing outside India. So article 8, what does it define? It defines about the rights of citizenship of certain persons of Indian origin residing outside India. So it is correct. Article 9, it talks about persons voluntarily acquiring citizenship of a foreign state not to be a citizen. It says that if a person has voluntarily acquired the citizenship of a foreign state, then his Indian citizenship gets deleted. So he is not a citizen of India anymore. So according to Article 9 is also correct here. Article 10, it says continuance of this rights of citizenship. 100% correct. Article 11, it talks about Parliament to regulate the rights of citizens by law. It is also correct. So here all the 4 articles are correctly matched. And one more thing I want to add here, that if you are the first time visitor, according to the Indian Constitution, the articles which are related to the citizenship start from Article 5 to Article 11. And from Article 12, we have another chapter which is fundamental rights. So tomorrow we are going to give the final touch to the citizenship. We will try to understand what is the nature by which we can acquire the citizenship, what is the nature by which we can lose our citizenship, and what are the recent amendments with respect to the citizenship in India. So tomorrow we are going to discuss that. With this, let's move to the last part of our discussion, which is discussing the last year questions. Here we had taken a few questions. Let's have a look at those questions. Here the first question is, it is a statement based. It says, it made its proposal in May. It still wanted a united India. There was to be a federal union composed of British provinces. The above quotation is related to what? This is a quotation. This quotation is related to what we have to understand. Is it related to Simon Commission? No. This quotation, if we will look at the time frame, it was near the independence of India, so it is incorrect. Is it Gandhi-Irwin Pact? No. Is it Cripps Mission? No. Is it Cabinet Mission? 100% Cabinet Mission. This Cabinet Mission made this statement that it made its proposal in May. It still wanted a united India. There was to be a federal union composed of British provinces. This is what the Cabinet Mission wanted in 1946. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is option D. Here comes the last question of today's discussion. It says, the most short-lived of all the Britain's constitutional experiments in India was, here are the 4 here the in we are given four British constitutional experiments, and we have to look out for the time frame till which they lasted in India, which one lasted for the shortest period of the time. The first one here is given. The first one given is Indian Councils Act of 1861. It lasted for 31 years. So let's keep it here. Then we have Indian Councils Act of 1892. It lasted for 17 years. Keep it here. Then we have Indian Councils Act of 1909. It lasted for 10 years. Then we have Government of India Act of 1919. It lasted for 16 years. So with respect to this question, the correct statement is option C, which is Indian Council Act of 1909. So with this, I hope with this we had completed today's discussion. I hope you had understood it. I hope you would share it with your friends too, and I definitely hope you would subscribe the channel. And please do write in the comments what else should we bring for you guys. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.